Noted Muslim travelers and chroniclers like Ibn Battuta, 1304 to 1369, and Ibn Khaldun, 1332 to 1406, recorded that even Mali's first ruler Sundiata converted to Islam. However, the Malinki oral tradition, which was kept up over the generations by specialized bards, griots, presents a different story. Although recognizing Islam was present in Mali long before Sundiata's reign, the oral tradition maintains that the first ruler of the Mali Empire did not reject the indigenous animist religion. We do know that Sundiata's son, Musa Uli, aka Musa Wali or Yeralenku, went on a pilgrimage to Mecca in the 1260s or 1270s, and this would be a continuing trend amongst many of Mali's rulers. Islam in West Africa really took off, though, from the reign of Musa I. He famously went to Mecca and, impressed with what he saw on his travels, Musa brought back home Muslim architects, scholars, and books. Mosques were built such as Timbuktu's Great Mosque, aka Jingareber or Gingerbread, and Quranic schools and universities were established, which quickly gained an international reputation. Studies were actually much wider than religion and included history, geography, astronomy, and medicine. Great libraries were built up with tens of thousands of books and manuscripts, many of which survive today. As more people were converted, so more Muslim clerics were attracted from abroad, and the religion was spread further across West Africa. Islam in West Africa really took off, though, from the reign of Musa I. He famously went to Mecca and, impressed with what he saw on his travels, Musa brought back home Muslim architects, scholars, and books. Mosques were built such as Timbuktu's Great Mosque, aka Jingareber or Gingerbread, and Quranic schools and universities were established, which quickly gained an international reputation. Studies were actually much wider than religion and included history, geography, astronomy, and medicine. Great libraries were built up with tens of thousands of books and manuscripts, many of which survive today. As more people were converted, so more Muslim clerics were attracted from abroad, and the religion was spread further across West Africa. Many native converts studied in such places as Fez, Morocco, and became great scholars, missionaries, and even saints, and so Islam came to be seen no longer as a foreign religion, but a black African one. Despite the spread of Islam, it is also true that ancient indigenous animist beliefs continue to be practiced, especially in rural communities, as noted by travelers like Ibn Battuta who visited Mali 1352. In addition, Islamic studies were conducted in Arabic, not native languages, and this further impeded its popularity outside the educated clerical class of towns and cities. Even the Islam that did take hold in Mali was a particular variation of that practiced in the Arab world, perhaps because Mali rulers could not afford to completely dismiss the indigenous religious practices and beliefs that the majority of their people clung on to. The buildings of the Mali Empire, some of which like the Sankor Mosque in Timbuktu still stand, are one of the most recognizable features of the region and have become international symbols of Africa's rich pre-colonial history. Mali architects had a distinct disadvantage because of the rarity of stone in the region, and for this reason, buildings were typically constructed using beaten earth, banco, reinforced with wood, which often sticks out in beams from the exterior surfaces. Despite the limited materials, the mosques, in particular, are still imposing multi-storied structures with towers, huge wooden doors, and tiered minarets. Other large buildings included warehouses, fondats, which were used to store goods before they were transported elsewhere and which had up to 40 apartments for merchants to live in. Other large buildings included warehouses, fondats, which were used to store goods before they were transported elsewhere and which had up to 40 apartments for merchants to live in. Other examples of the Mali baked mud buildings, which impress today, although many are early 20th century reconstructions, include the huge mosques at Mopti and Djenné. On a smaller scale, excavations at Niani have revealed the remains of houses and their stone foundations, confirming later sources that the richer members of society built stone houses. Arab chroniclers describe another type of domestic building, which was constructed using beaten earth bricks and with ceilings made of wooden beams and reeds, the whole formed into a conical roof. Flooring was made using earth mixed with sand. Rich tradition of recounting legends and community histories orally by specialized storytellers known as griots. These stories, passed down from generation to generation and continuing today, were often accompanied by music. During the Mali Empire, there were even songs reserved for certain people who alone had the right to have them sung in their honor. This was especially so for renowned warriors and hunters. Music was also an important part of religious festivals when masked dancers performed. Pottery and sculpture were produced, as they had been at noted centers like Jen since the 9th century. Sculptures are generally up to 50 centimeters tall and made of solid pottery, but sometimes with a reinforcing iron rod interior. Wood and brass were other popular materials for sculpture and, to a lesser degree, stone. Decoration is typically incised, painted, or achieved by adding three-dimensional pieces. Subjects include human figures, especially bearded warriors riding a horse, but also many kneeling or crouching figures with upturned faces. Figures are often realistic portrayals of ordinary people, sometimes showing symptoms of tropical diseases. Although it is rare for artworks of this period to come with a certain provenance obtained from professionally excavated sites, the sculptures are so numerous that it seems likely many were used as everyday decorative objects as well as for ritual or burial purposes. Well-defined rules for royal succession often led to civil wars as brothers and uncles fought each other for the throne. Then, as trade routes opened up elsewhere, several rival kingdoms developed to the west, notably the Songhai. European ships, especially those belonging to the Portuguese, were now regularly sailing down the west coast of Africa, and so the Saharan caravans faced stiff competition as the most efficient means to transport goods from West Africa to the Mediterranean. There were attacks on Mali by the Tuareg in 1433 and by the Mossi people, who at that time controlled the land south of the Niger River. Around 1468, King Suni Ali of the Songhai Empire, 1464 to 1492, conquered the rump of the Mali Empire, which was now reduced to controlling a small western pocket of its once great territory. What remained of the Mali Empire would be absorbed into the Moroccan Empire.